I'm
Hello.
hi.
You made it through the portal with me, Broad.
I'm entering the portal. I'm posting on my Instagram story. I'm like, I should have done this earlier.
Oh, it's okay. You know, when me and Strega Lizzie are on for On the Hedge, we always just kind of fly by the seat of our pants and we open up with a little drop-in sesh, give people a chance to come in, just spend a few minutes. I see somebody is already here, so welcome. We're
Hello.
just going to let people kind of straggle on in as they tend to do and just sort of do a little check-in and see how everybody's doing tonight. How you doing, Broad?
I'm doing good. I'm a little nervous, but I feel good. I've done live streams before.
Yeah.
Not in a group setting though. So this is exciting.
Yeah, it's fun. It's always fun. I love doing this and I love having other readers on too and doing like a read where we bounce off of one another because it's always like a really unique experience and something really cool comes in. And I'm already noticing the synchronicities. It was 1:22 on the clock. So we're already coming into alignment. We've been talking about doing this for a long time, right? So it's cool. It's about time. It was supposed to happen. Timing was good. Timing was good, and I'm really excited to like jump forward and jump into all of this with you and yeah, just see what unfolds. I'm good myself. I'm good. I'm kind of finally feeling like I'm getting into the swing of the new year. You know, it feels like it kind of took a little time to ease in. Felt
Yeah.
kind of sluggish after last year. Last year was kind of heavy, and there's still some of that heaviness lingering with that Scorpio South node, you know, emo action going on, just wading through all that cringy shit, you know, the stuff that we're going to be looking at tonight. We're going to be doing kind of a fun collective read. It's a little something different. I'm just going to take a moment to sort of let those know who are going to be coming in, whether you make the live or the replay. Welcome. Wonderful to have you here. We got a very special evening planned tonight. This is a new series I'm launching here at Broad Coven called The Broadcast. And it's specifically for me to highlight people that have something to bring forward to share with the collective. And I love working with creative people and uh, the Sharpest Teeth, aka Wilder. My Broad is one of the most creative people I know, and also I consider one of my younger generation mentors because I'm of Generation X, you know, and I feel like it's really important for those of us of, you know, the Generation X set and beyond to also, you know, have some mentors that are younger than us because it's important to stay connected to what's going on with people across the broad spectrum, right? It's not just all about our generation's view of things. And I have to say that I've learned a lot from connecting with some really like, you know, on their game, you know, very aware and connected. I would say, you know, connected younger people that have helped me look at situations in different ways too. So I really love our connection. I love that we're diving into this collaboration here, and I hope we can do more in the future. It'll be a lot of fun just dropping in and you know, connecting. But I wanted to share a little bit about how I met Wilder. I actually met Wilder through the North Bay cabaret scene while I was doing burlesque dancing, and specifically burlesque dancing with troupe Broad Coven that had Violet Streak and Bella Duquesa in it, and they were my broads, and we had a lot of fun being creative with each other. And I got to meet Wilder in that way. Wilder did performing at North Bay Cabaret, and that's initially how I got to know Wilder. But then it went so beyond that, right, Broad? I mean, it jumped into us like doing healing work together and really getting to know each other on a very deep level. And I just want to begin by saying that I am extremely, extremely impressed with you and your ability to hold what you're going through at any time, cringy or not, okay? To be able to hold what you're going through in such an authentic way. And not only do you hold it authentically, but you're an excellent communicator. And you just have it's such a fresh like experience communicating with you about deep stuff or even stuff that maybe can be like a little controversial because of that quality that you have. You have this real core strength and groundedness, and I just really admire that in you. And Broad here is also a tarot reader. It has a wonderful podcast, The Sharpest Teeth, which you really should check it out. And I'll let you all know at the end after Wilder shares their new song from their soon to be released album. What's the name of it, Broad?
Oh, it's called We Excrete Many Fluids When We Sleep. Speaking of filthy mattresses.
And maybe I mean that's kind of a good jump off point. Like what inspired that name? Where did you come up with that name for the album?
Oh, that's so funny because I have my friend Morg is staying with me tonight and last night, and like the last time when we came up with that name, it was when they were staying with me the last time, and I don't remember what we were talking about, but it was in a group setting and we were talking about like sleeping in the same bed together, and we were talking about like sweating and like drooling, and I was like, yeah, we excrete many fluids when we sleep, and their sponsor was like, oh, that's a great name for an album, and I was like, I'm making an album right now, I think that's the name. Like,
Yeah, it's great.
yeah.
And and it's true. We do.
Yeah.
And there's also, those times too, like when we're going through something really hard, right? We can wet our pillow with our tears, right? Or our snot.
Yeah.
Or, when we're, connecting with somebody special, we have different kinds of fluids too. So or if you get really, wasted one night and then you happen to puke in the bed. So it's true. There's many possibilities. There's infinite possibilities when it comes to fluids
We have
that
so
can be
many
released
fluids.
while we sleep.
It's so funny. My friend said power is a fluid, so that's what I'm thinking of now too.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's an interesting take. An interesting take. So, I know personally because we've talked about it, and in fact, I remember I kind of challenged you to make this album because
We
I
did.
think you're brilliant, and I've always appreciated what you do musically, and I think you have so much to share. And you just kind of like never, really stepped forward to do, that bold like, okay, I'm going to release my solo album, do my thing, and let people really see me. And I'm so glad that you like took the challenge. But I kind of want you to like let everybody know, why was it so challenging for you? Why is it so difficult to kind of like express yourself on this level, solo, as a solo artist, as comparison to when you've worked with other band members and stuff?
Oh yeah, it's vulnerable when it's just me. And there's like a lot of I have to trust myself, Like there's a lot of trust involved in myself. When I'm playing with my band members, like we get to lean on each other and vibe off each other. And when it's just me, which is how I originally started, playing music, I just have to like own the stage and own my power and excrete my fluids like freely. Um and ooh, it's hard. It's vulnerable. Are you still there? You went away.
You're back. It's live, it's improv, that stuff happens.
Yeah. Um aw, my friend Weston is here. Hi, Weston. Hello, fire. Um
Yes.
yeah, it's vulnerable to like just go up on the stage alone. And I mean, with my band Gender Trash, it's all my lyrics also. um but I get the reinforcement of the band when we practice together, and like they say like how relatable it is, and like we get to say how good we think the others are, and that feels good. And then I'm like, oh, these people are so cool, I must be so cool. And let me tell you, because we're doing this, I started recording which I wasn't gonna do it. Like this album wouldn't exist without you. Basically. Like, you challenged me, and I love the challenge. I love accountability. I need it. I need the support and the community, right? Otherwise it's like, I don't know, like my art, I feel like it's meant to be seen. But I can just, once I make it, sometimes I'm like, I'll just share it with one person. I'll be like, look at this, I did the thing. Okay. We don't have to look at it anymore ever again. um, and to have it like be out there in a semi-permanent way, for anyone to consume and like make their judgments. It's, I don't know, I'm sensitive, but it's cool. People can think whatever they want about me. That's, I I appreciate it no matter what. But at the end of the day, it just is important how I feel about myself. And
Right.
I don't know. Oh, I was totally sorry. I like went off on a tangent. I was gonna say when I was
No,
recording,
I love the tangent. I know all about tangents.
when I was recording this specific song on my own, I was just like, oh, this is it's so repetitive. It's like, ugh, it's cringy. It's fucking cringy, dude. Like, but I was just hanging out backstage in StreamYard, and I played the song through, and I was like, you know what? It's a good song. I like it. Doesn't matter if it's cringy.
I know it's going to be amazing. I just know it's going to be. And that's the thing, is that we always have a very kind of harsh perspective of ourselves. And especially when we're sharing something that's coming from a really deep place, maybe something that we haven't really exposed before, or allowing ourselves to be seen in a way that we've never been seen before. Being witnessed is huge, right? And it's true. You never know how people are going to receive you. Some people will be very supportive, and some people won't. Some people will get it, and some people it's not for them. But that's not really what it's about at the end of the day. It's about really standing in the truth of who you are, and what is more true than something you created, that came from your own heart and soul and your personal life experiences. There's a lot of power in that. And so I think what often comes up for creative people around, these kind of things, and just sort of like sharing that part of themselves and allowing it to be seen, allowing it to be witnessed. It's not even so much about how will other people take my creativity, because really it's also subjective, right? I mean, art is totally individual, and you can have 3,000 people looking at the same piece of art, and everybody will see something different in it, and everybody will get something different out of it that touches on a whole different part of them, and they may discuss it with another person. They can't even relate to that person's perspective. So it doesn't really matter. It's that when you're expressing yourself in that way and you're putting it out, for the world to see, I think it's about really stepping into your power. And sometimes that can feel a little cringy, right? It can feel a little bit like, oh God, like, am I really going to own it like this? Like, am I really going to like be this assertive that I'm going to put myself out there like this, be totally vulnerable, let everybody see me as I am, and just be like, fuck yeah, this is who I am. Take it or fucking leave it, man. But this is where it's at. So I think it's, just my perception. I mean, only you can tell me if I'm, getting honed in on that. But I think it might be, partially that too, just in general for creative types, just for anybody really, wanting to be witnessed doing something that is very, important to them and meaningful to them on a personal level. I think a lot of times it's just that awkwardness of like stepping into your power, owning it, and letting yourself really be seen. It is vulnerable, that transparency, that level of radical authenticity. But I kind of like feel like radical authenticity is the way to go, man. It's the way to live your life, because it's the only way you're free.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only way you're truly free.
Yeah.
So, obviously, this album has you stepping into your power, this whole creative process. Okay. So, I'm curious if you would like to share why it's been an act of kind of stepping into your power. Like, why is this album so deeply personal for you?
That's a good question. Oh, yeah. What you were touching on, it was like about surrender and like letting go, right? Like once it's out there,
Mm-hmm.
and you just have to let it go. And like I'm thinking about even just right now being in the present moment and doing this live stream. I'm like, okay, like I can't think about what was just happening. Like I just have to be here in this present moment. But you asked me a question, so I'm gonna like I'm gonna tie it in for sure. Um, I have never like stepped up to the potential of actually like putting myself out there in a recorded form in a way that like in a way that I am in control of like how it sounds and how it's turning out, and like learning all of the ins and outs, and like actually asking for the help that I need. I feel like recently I have learned how to ask for help in a way that isn't like manipulative or passive or like codependent at like wanting other people just to do it for me, or like just I don't know, being direct and saying like after we talked on the phone last week, my friend was here and they do computer stuff and they've done a bunch of audio stuff, and I was like, hey, I have this microphone and I've had it for 2 years and I don't know how to connect it to my computer, and I like plugged it in, and they just like went into my settings and they looked up sound, and then they were like input, and then they're like, here it is. I was like, wow, that's so simple. Like, thank you. Right. But in the past it would be like I would be like complaining. I'd be like, ooh, I don't know how to do this, I need help, without being like, can you help me? Which is another way of stepping into your power, and it's another like form of vulnerability and authenticity, is being direct with your needs and asking for help. It's really interesting to think of like asking for help as a way of stepping into your power, but that's what I've found over the past year. um and it's like it's that humility too, where I recognize that what I'm doing, it's it's very personal, but it's not really about me, right? And I think for so long I was just thinking everything is about me, like, and I knew that it didn't feel good, it felt cringy, but that's the mode. I'm like, I think everything is about me. I got that ego on me. It's cool. Like I'm working with it. We're learning.
We've
Um,
all gone into cringe mode. None of us are above that.
none of us
We're
are
all
above the cringe.
cringe. We're all
That's
cringe at one time or another. I
yeah.
think
So
that that was really interesting what you just said about
mhm.
how asking for help, being able to ask for help is one way of being in your power, of stepping into empowerment. And I can see that because that's coming from a place of honesty. And I think any time that we come into a place of honesty, that automatically aligns us with our empowerment, what's true, right? Because as long as we're operating or we're moving out of any level of, wearing a mask or some kind of facade, we're not really operating from an empowered place. We're allowing ourselves to be modulated according to how we think outside world will perceive us, receive us. And so that's not really like owning your worth walk. I meant to say earth walk, but I said worth walk. I kind of like that. I might start using that more, like owning your worth walk. It's true though, because then you're kind of living according to others' parameters for you rather than really walking in step with your truth. So I can see that. It's very hard to ask people for help. I know that too. Now, see, that's something that has always made me cringe. And I understand that one very intimately. And for me, that comes from a place of just being young and being the eldest in the house, being the one who had to be the responsible one. And I kind of got to start, on my own very young in life. I left home when I was 15 years old. And so I've always kind of had to be in that position of holding everything down. And I just learned to kind of be a scrapper and find my way in life in that way. um, it's what I had to do. And some of it was a bit of a defense mechanism, and by all means, a necessary one at certain points in my life. I mean, I've had certain experiences. I had some time where I didn't have a place to live. I know what that's like. And I don't regret anything that I've been through. I don't regret any of my experiences, even the worst of them, even the ones that, really at times were humiliating. Talk about cringy, you know what I'm saying? But I can recognize how all those things made me who I am today. And I know that I didn't really feel totally empowered until I sort of like let all those skeletons come tumbling out of the closet. And I went ahead and just let it be seen that, yeah, it's like, this is me too, Pac-Man. This is me too. Like, I'm not perfect. I'm flawed too. I fuck up too. I have a shadow side too. I don't always make the right call. Sometimes I blow it. Sometimes I land flat on my face. And I spent so many years being afraid of like letting people see that more vulnerable side of me. And for me, I learned how to be vulnerable and ask for help, and that empowerment that it can be in my therapeutic process when I was in recovery from an anorexia crisis. Okay. So that for anybody who's ever struggled with eating disorder, anorexia will, morph your brain to think it's the ultimate weakness to ask for any kind of help. So that really taught me a lot. And it was a humbling experience. But what I recognize and what's really carried forward from me from that is radical truth telling will set you free. And what keeps you disempowered is the secrets you hold,
Mm.
because then you're always moving through life just waiting for that moment when you're going to be found out, when people are going to figure out the truth about you, right? And that's where that whole like imposter syndrome comes from. It comes from the places where people are living out of their authenticity. And so they can't really stand rooted in their power. And I don't know about you, but and I'd like you to speak to this and just kind of share your thoughts about this, and then maybe we can like dive into a little conversation with the cards on it, do a collective read, and see, what's the cringe factor for the collective right now, like what's the cringy shit they need to get over, and how they can build a bridge and get over it. And that'll be a lot of fun. But I'm kind of curious about your perspective in regard to that. Like, how do you relate to the aspect? Do you feel that that's been part of it for you too? That the more you kind of like step out of the place of having to hide certain parts of yourself, that you feel more kind of free and empowered. It's 23 on the clock. I think you're doing it right now. You're on that change train right now.
I saw the 1, 2, 3, 4 earlier and 3, 3, 3 as well. Yeah. There's a saying, secrets keep us sick.
Mm.
And that's something that I don't know, it's interesting. I always thought that I was so open, but then realizing that that can be a defense mechanism too, right? Like oversharing. And um also it's just like it's not very graceful sometimes. Like sometimes I think that I'm sharing my experience, but I'm sharing other people's experiences too, and like not being
Mm.
respectful. Um and so learning how to really designate what is my truth and what am I what am I hiding, and like why, and who am I hiding it from. um because as long as there's one person who knows what's going on with me for real, like I know I'm good. But if I'm not talking about what's going on with me um with at least one person,
Mm-hmm.
preferably like 2 or 3, but at least one person, um there's something like I can't show up for myself, and I can't allow other people to show up for me, right? Like if I'm
Mm-hmm.
holding on to secrets, um it's like they suddenly have power over me. Like the secrets have power over me. And
Exactly.
I was thinking about while you were talking, like the stuff that is cringe is like those survival mechanisms that worked for us that we're dragging along with us when they no longer serve us. And then we're
Mm,
acting in those ways and we're like exhibiting behaviors that are ultimately cringe because they're not working anymore. Like I was talking about, like I I use manipulation as a tactic because at one point that's what I needed to survive because I didn't know how to live any other way. But now I know differently and I know how to act differently. And when I notice that I'm like trying to use manipulation to get my way, it's cringe and I don't like it. And that's like, ooh. And it was cringe before too, but it wasn't like it wasn't like hitting. It wasn't like there because it felt like a secret. And so it had power over me. And so I couldn't be like, oh, this is the thing. And like I can name it for real instead of just being like, oh
mm.
yeah, I do this thing. It's not good. Wish I could change it, but I can't. Like,
I relate to that so much because my thing was always I was like I had martyr complex, you know.
mm-hmm.
I'll be the doormat. Go ahead. It's okay. Let me accommodate you. And that in and of itself is its own kind of manipulation, right?
It
Speaking of
is.
manipulation.
Yeah.
And I know for me, the manipulation it was to feel like in some way by kind of going above and beyond and just being that like yes girl to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
That was really a matter of me trying to prove that I was indispensable because my insecurity was that I was just going to be thrown away. My
Yeah.
insecurity was that I wasn't worthy of love. My insecurity is that I would be discarded, abandoned. So I learned, it took a long time to figure it out because I was like, why do I do this? Why do I continually put myself through this? And I had to go through a pretty deep dive to arrive at it. But I realized if I go above and beyond, if I'm very accommodating, if I'm not disagreeable in any way, then this means that I am indispensable, and people will be more hesitant to walk away from me or not entertain me or not make a place for me in their life. And I realized at the end of the day that's some bullshit because it never worked anyway, right? It never
Yeah.
worked anyway.
Yeah.
And then I always felt that was always a cringe moment, because then I also felt like I gave away some of my dignity in the process,
Mhm.
and I did a lot of healing around it. And that involved me saying, no, no, I don't want to do that. No, I'm not interested in it. Hard, no, 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 there's no wiggle room. There's no talking about it. This is the way it is. And it was interesting because that was a very difficult place to move into because it made me realize how much those machinations had orchestrated this like sort of role for myself in my life because so many people just all of a sudden they didn't get me. I changed. I was
Right.
a problem. I was too mouthy, and it's because no, you're not getting your way anymore. Like I'm no longer going on your bullshit. You got your own bullshit that makes you want to kind of like take advantage of a person like that too. It works both ways. And so I realized that once I changed my own reflection in the mirror, then in my connections, I was mirroring something different back at them that was illuminating and that provided like that source of cringe, right? That uncomfortable, like, ugh, I don't want to
Mhm.
look at this. I don't want to deal with this. And so a lot of times it just became a lot easier for people to write me off. But that was also a blessing because then I had to really learn how to self validate. you
Yeah.
know what are you going to do if everybody has a problem with you all of a sudden? I mean, you got to be okay with yourself at the end of the day. And so it sort of moved me into this center where I feel very secure in myself now. I know who I am. I know that I operate from my heart. You know, I know that I care for other people. I always do my best to show up, but I also know it's important to show up for myself too. I know I got to like fill up my cup first before I can give to another, and give to another from a place that's not coming from resentment. Because if it's from resentment, it's tainted, it's
Yeah,
dirty, it's, you know, it's no good.
it's not.
And then it's funny. It's funny to be where I'm at now because I used to be so insecure and so afraid to even open my mouth. I mean, back in high school, except for my very intimate, close circle of friends, I was very quiet. And nobody believes that now, that knows me now, but it's true. I was extremely shy. And it was all because I felt this insecurity. I always cringed when I had to open my mouth and contribute what I had to say because I didn't know how it would be received or if I would be put down. And so it's very interesting to move out of that place, to know what that's like, to be where I'm at now. And part of that also has to do with just being older. Like I don't care. I'm too old to care about it anymore. You know, there's more important things to focus on in life. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. So I celebrate you for coming on tonight and taking the leap and being willing to be vulnerable and put yourself out there. I know that you wrote all this as, I mean, I assume I should probably ask, because you know what they say about assuming, I just could make an ass out of you and me. But when it comes to this album, would you say that this album has been about a healing process for you, or has the album itself and writing these songs been cathartic in your healing process?
Yeah, I mean, we did talk about it before, like the way that I described it was uh giving voice to the cringe side of me, right? And like
Mhm.
just letting that part talk. And I mean that's a part of my creative process in general anyway, but when you challenged me to write these songs, it was because you pulled the Queen of Holes and then you counted how many holes she had. And she had 11 holes and you're like, you have 11 songs in you. And I have it written down like in my grimoire over there, like the reading that you gave me, and, and like talk about king shit. Actually, it might be right here. Yeah, I just like I remember that very specifically. You're like, you have 11 holes and like 11 songs inside of you, and like fill those holes. And and you were like, and you're gonna do it by Leo season, and it was like 2 months until Leo season, and I was like, well, I better get started. I maybe cheated a little because I pulled from like just poetry that I wrote, just like random.
That's not cheating, man. That's reinventing. That's
Yeah,
not cheating at all. Maybe those poems were, that's what they were supposed to be written for in the first place. That was just like you sending a message. It's so funny. I have to pull out the cards. You know, we got that king shit.
we got the king shit. You know,
King shit right there. This is the arcane bullshit deck. I love this deck. It's just giving the finger, right? Giving that big finger to what anybody has to say about it. Look at him sitting on his throne, you know? As far as your opinions are concerned, we'll just flush it, man. We'll just flush it if you have a problem with it, because I know the shit I've been through, and it's how I gain my strength, my stubbornness, my determination to keep going, put myself out there in an authentic way. I can see clearly. I got my crown on. I know who I am. And I don't care how you judge my throne. I'm trying to find the Queen of Holes just so people can see the card. But I'm going to be using the arcane bullshit for this collective read that we're going to do. We're going to bounce off each other here in just a sec. But I love that you brought in the Queen of Holes. I forgot about that. The 13, why did I say 13 holes? Maybe there's some hidden bonus tracks coming in.
probably.
Upping the ante on you, Broad. You got a couple more in you. Let's see.
I do.
Oh, where is she? She's hiding. The Queen of Holes is hiding. What's up with that?
She's feeling vulnerable.
She she's been exposed. She didn't ask to be exposed. We gotta let. I think that's another piece too, right? sometimes it can be pretty cringy when somebody sort of pushes somebody else out of their comfort zone before they're ready. And, I've seen that go down at times when somebody has something, that they're going through and other people want them to share it, air it all out. Why? So they can feel more comfortable with that person's discomfort. And feel like in some way, the problem is solved. Now we can out of sight, out of mind. But the reality is people need to operate things at their own times. And not always is somebody ready to share. It takes time to move into a place where you feel like you can open up, and expose that stuff too. So I always find that that's kind of cringy, like when I see somebody just trying to reach out, maybe like on social media, and they're looking for a little help or a little support. And maybe they're being a little vague. Maybe they aren't going into major detail about what they're dealing with. Here she is, the Queen of Holes. And notice, I look, there's this cross on the top. I never noticed this before. And to me, that's almost like smashing the doorway of tradition, breaking through to the other side to own who you are rather than what's been inherited, who your family told you needed to be, who authority figures told you needed to be. And seeing clearly, letting it be transparent, letting it all just kind of like ooze out, not being held inside.
Excreting all the fluids.
Yes, exactly. It all comes full circle. It all comes full circle. Let's do this. Do you want to do a collective read?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. Let's just get some initial cards on board here. I'm putting the time down at 37:07. I will put timestamps for you all so you can tune in, to whatever portions if you want to like check out the read again or whatever on the replay, or if you're somebody who's going to watch this on the replay. I'm just going to give this deck a few more shuffles because I like to shuffle on camera, let people know that these are mixed up here. That's important to me. We're all having an organic experience here. I have no idea what's going to come out, neither do you. And we're on this ride together. Let's just enjoy being in this creative space. What deck are you using?
I have the Thoth deck or the Toth or the Thoth or however you want to say it. I've heard it so many different ways.
It works any old way. There's no rules.
Like I shuffled it 3 times earlier, and that was like as many times as it wanted to be shuffled, and I keep trying to bargain with it, and it's like, nope. So I pulled some cards already.
Hey, that's all good. Maybe you can go ahead and why don't you go ahead and look into that. What we're looking at for the collective is we're looking at what is the cringe factor of the collective right now? Where is the collective kind of holding themselves back? Out of fear, out of insecurity, out of vulnerability. What's coming up for the collective around this? And we're also going to look at what they can do to get beyond it, just sort of give them some tools to work with and moving forward and kind of freeing themselves from all of that.
Yeah, so when you had king shit and then you were looking for the Queen of Holes, I pulled completion. See, it's the 4 of Wands. And I was so funny. It's like what's coming up for me right now is like, when are you going to finish it? It's Aries energy. When are you going to get it done? Like, why are you dilly-dallying over here? And then we also have the 5 of Wands, which is strife. And it's so funny. And before, when we were chatting, I was shuffling the Niron deck, which is this deck that my friend made me out of all these different playing cards. And then we had Driftwood Oni pop out, which is about like tricks of the mind, right? Like you see a piece of driftwood and you're like, oh my God, it's a demon. Oh no. So what all of this is really coming to is just like there's this sense of self-imposition is what I'm getting with this. And I think of like traditionally the Four of Wands has to do with community and like building structure and like wish fulfillment, and completion, right? Completion, which is interesting. It's like we built the foundation, and we're talking about what's in the way, what is getting in the way. And I had this come up before when I was doing this reading, when I was recording the podcast, and I was sick, and like previously my voice was fine and I could talk, but then I started recording the podcast and my throat got all dry and I couldn't even speak and I had to stop recording. But this is what came up was needing to complete the foundation and get the community together around you for support, right? It's
Mm.
like, yeah, like you're going to be standing on that stage on your own. This is your project. It's personal. It's like about you, but it's not about you. And you need to be able to ask for help. And like, it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. There's going to be strife. Like, this is how our mind works. Our mind loves to play tricks on us. It's like what it's built to do is it's built to fill in the gaps. And so it's really important to, sorry, there's people are
I
blowing.
love it. It's hard to read. It's adding emphasis. It's like bullet point.
Like, yes. Ding. It's really important to make sure that you have other people's perspective, because I don't know about you, but my brain loves to play tricks on me. It loves to lie. It loves to be like, oh, what about this? What is this happening, right? Like, for example, one time somebody said like an offhanded comment. They were just making a joke, and I like rolled with it, and I was like, oh my god, this person doesn't want me to do this thing. And then I like said something to someone else, and they were like, well, what does that person matter? And I was like, oh, I'm just in my head. And I checked in with them and I was like, hey, did you mean this? And they were like, no, what are you talking about? Right. So it's really
Mm.
important to keep ourselves in check, because we create all of these self-imposed problems. So that's
And
really
the
fun.
community piece you brought in, I mean, to me, that also, like, what is the foundation of building community? To me, the foundation of building community is good, clear communication. If you don't have people that can communicate clearly with each other, they can't build together. I mean, things just can't move forward. And so I love that you communicated, right? And it's like through communicating, you realize the clarity of the situation, and that allowed things to progress. So I feel like that's kind of coming in as a point too, and I feel like communication is something that is extremely important right now, just with the astrology cycle that we're in and being in Aquarius season. We have a lot of expansion, but Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, and Uranus is about that unconventional, rebellious, out of pocket energy, but it's also about the World Wide Web. It's about networking. It's about bringing people together. It's about building community. And with it being an air sign, we know air resides over not only inspiration, but also communication. Okay. So I feel like that's a piece that's really coming in. As you were talking about all of that, I got a couple cards out. I got the feral nerd.
God, that guy.
Yeah, this guy comes up a lot. I don't know when I do reads with this deck, like certain themes are just like entrenched in the collective right now because they
Mhm.
have these similar cards come up. And then, I mean, we got big sexy Satan.
Oh yeah, of course we do.
All right. So
Of
what
course.
I'm really getting about this is that a lot of people right now are struggling with the part of them that really wants to break with tradition, that wants to break away from the shoulds, the ideals that were placed upon them, the basic general structure of society. I mean, there is a lot of this kind of like revolutionary energy building, and we certainly have revolutionary energy building with Pluto being in Aquarius. I mean, this is a cycle that's going to go on for a good chunk of time. All right. We just started it and everything is changing, everything is being reinvented. And of course, when we are looking at any collective reinvention or upheaval or throwing over of any kinds of outdated paradigms, dogma, roles that were assigned to us, and we're bucking with tradition, and we're stepping out and we're doing something radically new that also, affects us on a fundamental level, because it really rattles us at that like root chakra level, like what we learned from our parents, what we learned as kids growing up from the authority figures in our lives. And I'm seeing this here. I notice here this feral nerd is holding a rabbit, okay? And rabbit medicine is all about the tricks we play on ourselves, like much like you were saying. It's the smoke and mirrors. It's us looking through that window in the grid of reality that it's filtered by our experiences, our past traumas, things that we've been through. And so we automatically have like a certain kind of bias. And sometimes we build community around that, right? We pull in people that share that same bias as us. And so it keeps us locked in this place where we can't really grow and expand beyond this sort of stuck point and evolve and revolutionize, right? Evolve. And if you look at evolve in the middle there, you look at it backwards, and it's love, and that's what we're in the process of doing. We're in the process of evolving out of that fear, which rabbit medicine is all about fear. It's about the fears that we call to ourselves. It's when we focus on the fear and we feed that we end up actually calling the very thing that we're so scared of happening right to us. And it does that so we can move through it and we can become empowered and no longer be a slave to that, right? And I see this as, the slave is kind of being that devil energy, right? Where it's like sort of flipping that traditional role of the devil as the devil being the one who chains you, the one who binds you, the great deceiver. But I'm going to get really out there, okay? And hey, this is our broad coven. We talk to a broad spectrum of people here. And so I'm asking you all to broaden your minds. We're speaking in archetypal terms here, no matter what your belief system is. I mean, is the devil really such a bad guy if he wanted Eve to have knowledge?
I mean, liberator was the word that came to mind for me.
Right? And the devil very much overthrew a system of thought. Now, I'm going out there with this, and I understand not everybody's going to agree with what I'm saying. And it may rattle some cages, but this is part of me being authentic and being who I am. I look at everything like this. I can't help it. I'm able to look at all different views, all different perspectives, and I can be devil's advocate. And to be honest with you, I don't believe in the devil anyway. I don't even believe in the devil because I'm not a Christian, and devil comes from Christianity, all right? So it's like, I don't believe in this. I believe that we all hold a balance of shadow and light within us. It's up to us what side we act out of. And some could say that if somebody chooses to act out of their shadow, I mean, they are making an independent choice for themselves, and they are choosing how they want to exercise their power, like it or not, agree with it or not. This is what free will is about. But I feel like because of this threat, of wanting to break away from tradition, wanting to do things differently, maybe exposing a side of yourselves that you're afraid if I let people see this part of me, they're going to judge me, or I'm going to be ostracized, or nobody's going to get me anymore, or they're all going to laugh at me, whatever it may be, just feeling like you need that kind of affirmation. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. Love having you jump into the conversation here. I encourage you all, if you have stuff you want to add, please come into the conversation. This is a community event. We're building community right now. I see that this is very much like a piece of wanting to kind of like free yourself, right? What is feral? Feral is being very instinctual. Feral is being wild and free. Instinct is the place where the intellect, the wisdom marries with the stuff of the heart, marries with that intuition. It's the place where logic and intuition and heart source fuel combine to propel you forward. So I feel like there's this piece that's coming through of wanting something to be out there, wanting to share something, wanting to bring your creations into the world, or perhaps step into an aspect of yourself that maybe you've kept hidden for a long time. This is just coming out, so I'm gonna bring it out. For some people, this is coming out. For some people, this is coming out. Like you've been hiding this. You've been hiding this because you're afraid of the judgment. You're afraid of how your relatives will view you, or what will people think? What will they have to say? And it's sort of like Big sexy Satan is here to say, roll with it, man. You got to roll with it. You got to own who you are. And you know what? Sometimes you do have to play the bad guy if it means standing in your truth. Because let me tell you, there are people who will label you the villain. They will blame you. They will blame you. And it's because by you standing in your power and just owning who you are and no longer being affected by their opinions of you, you're forcing them to look at themselves. So of course they want you to be the bad guy, because now you just put them in the stew pot to sit for a while and see what comes to a simmer, right? I mean, that's what I'm getting here. I feel like we're being asked to overthrow these limitations that have been put on us by dogma, by institutions, by authority figures, and make up our own mind about how we want to live our lives and what we want to put out there. Some of you may feel like nobody's going to get it. Like they're going to think I'm a total nerd, you know? They're going to think I'm a total geek. Let me tell you something. Nerds rule the world, man.
That's what I was going to say.
Nerds rule the world. Some of the most successful, self-actualized people were labeled nerds. They're the misfits. They're the people who are on the fringes of society, and they're the movers and shakers. They're the ones who are making stuff happen in the world. So I say own it, man. This is giving me big, like, let your freak flag fly with no apology. And you'll be so amazed by how freeing it is. I'm not saying that you're not going to feel uncomfortable at first, that it won't be awkward, that you won't have your cringy moments. You will. And I'm also not going to say that once you put yourself out there, years down the road, you look at those first steps you take and you go, oh God, I was so awkward. You may, but it's okay. It doesn't matter anyway. You just got to be you at the end of the day. All right. It's like, come on, man. Just do it with the flying man. Take the leap. Jump out of the frying pan and into the fire and let it totally transform you and show you who you really are. Be forged in that fire of truth, that fire tested truth. I love it. I love it.
Okay. Literally, the second time it came out. As I was shuffling, this is the Niron deck that my friend made me out of multiple playing cards.
Go ahead and give him a plug. Bring his name in.
This is just like a little project that we're doing.
Yeah.
Like we have this Niron deck, my friend Dante, they're great. Nice. And then we're working on another one together. I forget what they're calling it, but I mean, they just made this for me as a gift. They told me they were making it, and then I totally forgot about it. And then they were like, hey. And then now we're working on it together. And it's so funny that you brought up coming out, and then we have fucking, and you brought up like going against the grain and breaking out of those hierarchical standards. And we have fucking, and then like, and just this card, it represents the obvious, but it also represents like anger and frustration and expletives, right? And like even the word fuck has like so much power. It's a throat chakra opener. And it's I also have power here. I have the 4 of discs here as power. And I'm like thinking about this as like the problem is the solution, right? Like we're so caught up in all of the strife that we're not seeing that like that is what is getting us through. Like that is what is building us. Like you were talking about with the being awkward with the first steps, thinking about fucking, like so awkward at first. At the very beginning, you don't know what you're doing. You don't talk about it. So you have to like figure it out on your own. Thank God we have the internet. Like
I love the notification bell.
Come into your stride. Ding. Talking about fucking ding. Eventually you come into your stride, right? And then it's new with every person. And then you're learning how to communicate, and you're learning about yourself, and you're doing it with yourself. And you're learning like what you like and who you are, and like what like pushes those buttons, what rings that bell. and it works eventually. Or you learn what you don't like also. Like you learn all of the things. and it's awkward, and there's parts that are uncomfortable, and there's fluids excreting, and it's I love this card, obviously, but like yeah, and then okay, it's so funny too because we have completion, and I'm like, why? Okay, I know you say this all the time, but this is not a YouTube channel for children.
It's not.
Why are we letting ourselves
18, if you're under 18, you need to go, man.
Right? And like, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of the booty hole? Don't be afraid of the booty hole. There's so much power there.
Now you're really going down the Crowley hole with that one.
I really am. He loves sex, just like me. We have fucking. He loved drugs too, and man, let me tell you, magic and hard drugs do not mix.
No, that is a recipe for disaster on multiple levels. But sometimes people have to go down those rough roads to learn certain lessons, you know?
Yep.
And get to the other side of that. Yeah, you always know if you're operating from that place, your manifestations are going to be coming from the shadow for sure, and then they end up being messes you have to clean up later down the road. Absolutely. It's interesting you brought in this whole piece about the exchanging of fluids and kind of that whole connecting with people on a more like carnal level, like romantic level. And I got a pit bull driving a tiny truck.
Oh my God.
And I got the inverted squirrel. And what I got about this is, again, it's like that piece about being truthful, being honest, being real, letting yourself be seen for who you are. And I feel like something that happens a lot, in particular with the masculine, is this need to kind of like go into alpha mode to assert, to assert this like power stance and to kind of throw the weight around. And I really see that, and it's not that, obviously, the feminine can act out of that as well. We have both masculine, feminine polarities within ourselves, right? But I also see this as kind of like the way we put on appearances too. Like he's got the tiny truck. It's sort of like role reversal here. It's really showing what the real issue is. Like it's not really about the truck. It's this big, like kind of, posturing, bravado, like I'm the shit. I'm an alpha, I'm the man. I got the power here. Look at my big truck, that kind of stuff. But really we see with the inverted squirrel that this is like actually acting overly sure of oneself when it's really stemming from a place of insecurity, and it's so much more, I know to me, I always find it so much more appealing and so much more enticing and sort of like draws me in when somebody is just really unapologetically able to be themselves and they don't need to do that posturing. Like I always feel like that's so much hotter. It can be kind of a turn off. And this is like giving me big vibes about, social media and sort of the filtered existence and this reality we live in where, everything is not as it seems. Like what you see online is not necessarily the truth of what's going on. Like somebody can be posting these pictures and these images with backdrops and, all kinds of fantastical stories. And meanwhile, they're sitting on their couch with a tub of Ben and Jerry's and they're bawling their eyes out because they feel like their life's a mess.
Yeah.
And it's one way that people try to kind of find a sense of belonging or approval, but that in itself is cringy, right? Because it's like it's not real, it's not genuine. And when that's exposed, and we've seen this exposed, right? We've seen this exposed with this is coming real front and center forward for me, is where have we seen that more exposed than like with the Kardashians? All right, where they present this image even with how they look physically, right? They're doing all the body mod stuff, they're doing all the Facetune stuff, and so it perpetuates this false image, and then this false image kind of like becomes the ideal, and in particularly in terms of what's considered desirable or attractive, and that absolutely comes into play in sexuality and the dating scene. and how people connect with each other. And it's that same kind of posturing that comes from that place of insecure, because squirrels are all about, building up security in a
Yeah.
smart way. And there's a lot more healthy ways to grow insecurity within yourself. And it sort of begins by just owning who you are, letting yourself be who you are. And in terms of love, like I always think about, it's this quote I saw once about love allows you to be who you are. That's what it means to love someone. You love them just as they are. It doesn't matter if they have flaws or imperfections. It doesn't matter if they don't hit every mark. We're all flawed. We're all imperfect at the end of the day. So I see like these kind of filtered existences and this social posturing, and especially on social media, is a way we actually can kind of keep ourselves from really connecting with people on that level. And where connecting on that level becomes more superficial, it becomes more of a sort of an entrapment in the lie. And then people wonder, like, why don't things work?
Yeah, it's really funny that you brought up the insecurity piece in romance, because I noticed the squirrel is holding a worm, and the first thing when I saw that was there's a meme basically going around that's like, "Hey babe, would you still love me if I were a worm? Like, what would you do if I were a worm?" Right? And it's like, I had this whole conversation with my roommates the other night. I was like, if I were a worm, I would want to be set free. I want to go live in the dirt, or like put me in a compost bin at least. Don't keep me in a jar. Like, I don't want to live
Mm.
in a jar of dirt if I'm a
Mhm.
worm. That's not what I want. And so it's really funny because it's like it comes from that insecurity. But ultimately, if you really think about it, if you were a worm, you wouldn't care if they loved you. You're a worm. Like, just live your life, live your worm life.
Yeah, you're just a worm doing what worms do,
Yeah.
aerating the soil, making things grow, man.
Mhm.
You know, and
Yeah.
that's a beautiful thing. Again, it's like, yeah, it might not look glamorous on the surface, but I really believe that everybody has something to offer, and I believe in diversity when it comes to beauty. I think one note beauty is so boring. I'm so tired of seeing it. Everybody looking the same, everybody doing their makeup the same to make their facial features look other than the way they are, all of that, kind of catfishing kind of stuff. It's like, what's wrong with just who you are? That is so much more attractive. And it makes me think of the Ayurvedic concept of beauty, because in Ayurveda, they don't view beauty as anything superficial. You're beautiful when who you are, your essential nature, your soul is so lit up that it radiates outwardly for people to see in the look in your eyes, in your smile, in the way you hold yourself, and the way that you bring yourself forward with life and engage with other people. That's what makes you beautiful, not this kind of like cookie cutter imagery. But even that, I mean, the World Wide Web is the World Wide Web. And that's the thing with all these standards and dictates about who we should be to be acceptable or desirable. It's kind of an iffy territory when it comes to online. And, this sort of ties back into your original part you brought in, where the communication piece came in about building community. And
Mhm.
especially when we're moving in our communities online, it becomes so important how we choose to use that medium of the internet. What thoughts are we choosing to put out there? What influence are we trying to have? Because it has a big effect. Now, you have this, bedrock belief in the culture, from an Ayurvedic standpoint about beauty, but because of these westernized beauty ideals and concepts and the way they've spread and with social media, now you got the whole Bollywood trend, where now unfortunately that's really shifting to this kind of like, again, this one note homogenized kind of beauty, and it's all based on wanting to belong. But I wish more people would recognize that what makes you cool is who you are. It's not about looking like everybody else. I just saw this, it was on TikTok actually. And there was this dude, he was doing this interview, and he was like, walked up to this guy, and this guy just had his natural fro going. He was wearing these really cool boots. He was dressed very like he had a real kind of like 70s vibe to him, but it was real like real cool, real sleek. And the other guy was dressed in your standard, kicks, total kind of like hip hop wear. And he was like making fun of this guy's shoes. He was trying to like put down this guy for wearing the boots he was wearing. And there's a whole thing that went on with it, and I loved the way the guy handled himself. He was so smooth with the way he dealt with the situation that he turned the tables on the guy who was interviewing him. But I had to comment on it because I was like, all I know is that guy has a lot more style, and to me, is standing out more and is more distinctive than this guy who is just looks like everybody else. Like I like that he has his own style. Like I actually find that appealing, and it was interesting because a lot of people jumped on that comment. They're like, "Yeah, I feel like that too. I don't want to see everybody look the same." So it's funny how sometimes we uphold these ideals. We have these views about how things should be, and we think that that's what gets us approval. And actually, it's the opposite. Like
Yes.
people want to see more real nowadays, man. They want to see more real. So
Yeah.
being you is what's cool, right?
Mm-hmm. That's so interesting. Like you brought in the shoulds, and that's something that I've been working on too, is like noticing when I'm shoulding myself. Like no one likes to be should on, and I don't want to should on myself. Right? And so I'm like looking at what my motivations are, right?
Mm.
Like are they coming from a place of obligation, or are they coming from an authentic place of like, yeah, I think that this is what I want to do, or I think that this is what is good for me, or like what needs to be happening, or like this is the step in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm really thinking about like, okay, so getting into the solution is the authenticity, and like is embracing the cringe. That's the solution, right? I have valor here. 7 of Wands.
Ooh.
Like how do I, there we go. 7 of Wands, valor. And oh, look at that, Leo is on the bottom there. Weird.
We got a Leo full moon coming up too, so maybe that's good to do some work around that. With this lunar cycle coming in on the 5th, it's going to be a Leo full moon, so that's interesting that came out.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, it is, because it's Aquarius season. Okay. Yeah, I think that'll be really good. And like the firework is also coming in, and firework, like fireworks. And then you told me to like let my light shine. This is all Leo stuff. It's all coming back around. And the 4 of discs also has the sun. Where is it? Can you see it?
Yeah, I can
There's
see.
a sun sigil right up there on the top.
Nice. Yeah.
And the full moon is all about reflecting the sun. So it's all being tied together. Do some candle work, you guys.
Yeah, I think it would be really good. I also think it would be really good to do some cord cutting with these ideals that have you kind of in a subservient place to these ideals. It's almost like you're not able to really reach your full potential and exercise your authority in the world. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's funny. I have the pupa vomiting on cats.
Oh my god.
There's the fluids again. I love how the fluid theme keeps coming out. To the knees.
Oh, the knees.
To the parasitic fruit. To the digging ghost. I have 2 more, but I'm saving them because they're going to be the perfect way to introduce you in your song. Okay. But see, what I'm really getting from this is for some of the collective, and I do feel like it's front and center, so I just want to bring it in. I think some of the collective, in particular, I feel like the feminine is really needing to do this work about stepping out of this paradigm where there's only this one view of what it means to be powerful, which has been actually programmed into the feminine, that it's all about beauty. It's all about beauty and sexuality, you know, beauty and sexuality. If you look a certain way, then you are sexually desirable, and then because of that, that means you're powerful. And I mean, I have to say, you see it all the time. And again, I'm going to bring it in, like just with TikTok. I can't tell you how many times I go on TikTok and it's just one, short after another of somebody showing their ass to the camera. And it's like, you're more than that. And it's like, it's cool. It's cool that you got, a nice dump truck back there. That's all good. But you're more than that. You're more than your looks. And so it's also about kind of recognizing that we need to like tell these beauty ideals to like fuck off, man. As long as people keep feeding that too, I feel this is part of the solution. It's like, I'm going to issue a challenge to the collective. If you're somebody who's kind of been in this mode, and no judgment, man, because we've all been there before and we've all moved like this. But if you've been in this mode where you've kind of been putting yourself out there in a way because you think, well, this is going to get me a following, or this is going to get me likes, or this is what everybody else is doing, and I want to grow my online presence, or whatever it is you're doing, I think it's time that you stop just going along with what's trending, and instead ask yourself what your truth is and how you want to put yourself out there. If more people kind of like switch the use of this medium of, online interaction in a way where they were really owning themselves, accepting themselves, and, putting that out there. And I do see it happening. There's a lot of people that are making the shift. So let's not pretend that we're like in this stuck, stagnant place. I see so much shifting and so much changing, and I really love it. And then on another angle, I see the way, I mean, when I look at cats, I also think of cat tea. I think catty. I think of, sort of like tearing each other down, right? And sometimes people will do that too. And I see that a lot. And in fact, I made a post about it recently on Facebook. I noticed, on these different shorts where, women are like showing off their bodies, that there's all this kind of hater energy on there, and they're ganging up and putting them down, and everybody has a different idea what's beautiful, what's not, this and that. When you're like trying to uphold these ideals and you're trying to gain approval, or you're creating or putting yourself out there from a place of needing others to like uh, feel like it's valid instead of you're validated within yourself, it puts you in that subservient position. You're on your knees.
Your knees.
You're kind of prostituting yourself. I mean, really, it's true. And so it's a matter of like digging ghost, get to the bottom of it, dig deep, figure out what is the sort of thing that's hanging over you, that's haunting you, that's making you feel like you have to act out of this place in order for you to be worthy. You're worthy just as you are. So I really see this is about getting down to the bottom of it, kind of exhuming the ghost, maybe raising the dead, maybe looking at a little deeper, especially if you're feeling any kind of awkwardness or it doesn't feel genuine to you. And you'll know that if you're dealing with that imposter syndrome, then in some way you're not standing in your truth. And it's okay to like look at that without judgment, without being hard on yourself, but understand, where is this coming from? Because once we're willing to look a little deeper, that's when things can change. And I see like, it can be a temptation with the parents in there. They're on their knees too. I love how the symbolism all ties together. You can get all corded in to these ideals and everybody else's opinions about who you need to be. It can be tempting, to bite into that apple because you want the reward. But you have to think about what you're courting yourself into when you do that. Look at this. Look at the power center. And I love how they have it even like, it's like a vulva, right? It's like a portal there. And look how the power center is totally blocked up by all of these outside, opinions, outside views, all these faulty programs we downloaded. I think it's really about, you know, letting it come up and out. And this is so
Mm-hmm.
perfect, you know, because you talked about you were nervous. You were nervous about sharing your song, and you were nervous because you're like, initially you're like, well, what will people think of it? You know, what will people approve of it? What are, you know, are they going to dig it? And just that vulnerability of sort of putting yourself out there. And we got the shitty
Oh
acoustic
my
guitar
God.
guy.
What, hold up, because I was pulling while you were talking, and I got Jury of Your Peers, okay, and I got mediocre poetry, okay, Stairs in the Wood, which for me brings up like fairy energy, and The Bird Watches You, which also is fairy energy, but recently I was like, oh, it's Twitter. It's the
Oh,
Bird app.
wow. I love
The
that.
Bird Watches
Yes.
You, right? So this is a social media card for me, especially paired with the Jury of Your Peers, and this like embracing your mediocre poetry. And like with this card, I always think of LCD sound system. I can change. It's just you and your
Mm.
book of your bad poetry, and that's coming from me, right? Like I don't know. It's just like it's all coming back into like the embracing the cringe, man.
It
And
does. And I love it because that ties in how this is what I love. This is what I love about doing these readings. All right. Hello, Diana. Good evening to you. Diana always drops in on all the lives. Sending lots of love to Diana. Thank you for being here and for the support. It's so appreciated. I love how when you do these readings, you know, and you bring in multiple people, how it all like pings off of one another and it's so cohesive. And I can't wait to show the last card, but you know, we got this, you know, this is the fear, right? The shitty guitar guy. Like nobody wants to hear what I have to put out there, but look at him. Look at his face.
he's
This is,
happy.
you know, every time I see
He's
this
so
card, I think of that old commercial. It's freedom rock, man. You know, it reminds me of that spirit. Like this dude is just free. Look at him. He is vibing, man. He don't give a shit. He is just playing the music from his soul. He's enjoying himself. He doesn't care what you think of it because it's him letting his truth out there, you know, bringing it forward into the world. Look at that. He took that axe. He fucking just broke that chain. He's
he
being a break
liberated
in the
himself.
chain. He's free now to be who he is. And this collective is the key. Because once you do this, once you step a little bit into your cockiness, okay, it's okay to crow a bit about yourself, all right? There ain't nothing wrong with having a healthy sense of pride, all right? There ain't. Especially if you've been through a lot, you've been doing the work, you've been showing up even when it was hella cringy, all right? And you've been in it to win it. There's nothing wrong with having some self confidence. There's nothing wrong with feeling good about who you are and stepping into that. And it's by you taking that risk to put yourself out there that all the reward comes in. Because look what we got. We
Oh
got
my
the
God.
gravy funnel. And there's the fluids. There's the fluids. That's when you get the juice from spirit, man. So I think this is a perfect segue at this point. And we're all here to hold space and witness you. And I'm like so ready to hear your song. Do you feel ready?
Yeah, I feel ready. I do. I mean, so I feel ready in a moment because I do want to bring in Diana said that the shitty acoustic guitar guy makes her think of the full card or a hangman vibe, which is totally a huge theme of what we've been talking about this whole time in the past hour. And I was thinking of power and valor as the
Mm.
solution cards. And what you said is like stepping into your cockiness. And then the gravy funnel with the rooster.
And it's also what you brought in the beginning with the Queen of Holes and King Shit, right? It's that King Shit energy. Like, yeah,
Shit energy.
I'm the shit. I'm good with who I am. You can flush it if you want. Your opinion makes no difference to me. So, totally stoked to hear your song, Broad. Why don't you
Stinks, what of it?
let everybody know And if you want to let them know a little bit, like just what inspired this particular song, and then I'm ready. We're all
Yeah,
ready. It's
I
your
will.
time to shine, Broad.
Ooh, cringing. I'm cringing right now. um, yeah, this song. Welcome to my mediocre poetry. Hello, jury of my peers. Welcome to my mediocre poetry. Um, are you ready to climb the stairs that you found in the wood? It's gonna be a mystery. Nobody knows what's gonna happen. I need to. I've tuned this twice already, but oh, it's all good. We're all good. Um, so this song I wrote at like 3 a.m. Which is actually funny because I was gonna name it the 3 a.m. song after referencing a different song, but I named it "Fun New Ways to Hurt Myself," and oh, it's about yearning. Because what else for me? Like, that's been a huge theme for this year for me. I will touch on this later, but I run a meme page now. My Instagram has gone through so many iterations. Currently, it's a meme page, and I love to talk about yearning. And for me, yearning is a Venn diagram of horniness and sadness, and yearning is in the middle. And I guess that's what this song is about. um Almost like wanting the unattainable. And I'm like, oh, that cringe. Oh, ooh, that cringe. Okay. Like wanting something that you know is not practical or possible or helpful. Felt. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm ready. Razor blade in my hand, razor blade in my fist, clenched tightly. I can't hold on, but I can't let go. I'm bleeding out of my palm, all alone in my room, but in my head I'm with you, and in my head you're a pawn. But in real life there's no rhyme or reason. I know that I can't go on like this, driving my car past your home, driving around in circles, looking for something to bring me down. I wish that I could drown my sorrow swimming in the brown, but I know better now. Razor blade in my hand, you're the razor blade in my fist, clenched tightly. I can't hold on, but I can't let go. I'm bleeding out of my palm, all alone in my room, but in my head I'm with you, in my head you're a bomb, but in real life you're bad medicine. I know that I can't use you like this, acting out on my own, acting out in small ways, texting you, it keeps me cold. I wish that I could fold my hand, but I'm going for the gold. I won't do what I'm told. Razor blade in my hand, you're the razor blade in my tightly. I can't hold on, but I can't let go. I'm bleeding out of my palm. I'm bleeding out. I'm bleeding out. I'm bleeding out. I'm bleeding.
Wow. Powerful. Oh, Wilder. It's so good. It's so good and it's so pure. I love it. So good. How you feel? Look at you got love. You got love coming in, okay? Yeah. You got love coming in. Oh, ooh, snap, snap. Come on. Check it out, Broad. When is it on Spotify?
My muse, my dear friend, who I'm so good at projecting my emotions onto, was like, so that album's coming out by my birthday, right? Which is in late May. So we have a time. No, it's in late April. Oh shit, it's in late April. Wait. Fuck. It's so soon. I better get on this. Taurus season. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at Taurus season.
I love it.
I
will be sure to announce it here at Broad Coven when it is released. And I don't know, I mean, if you're open, maybe you can come on again and read at that time and let people know all the info about where they can find it. All right. Because I think that, you know, you have something to share, and I understand why. Just listening, I'm a big lyrics person, so I really like tuned into what you were singing about. And I think that that's something that's just coming from such a pure, unguarded place. And there are people, you know, that really, you know, when we share stuff like that, that maybe we're afraid to share, it's so powerful in the way that it can help, even if it helps just like one person out there not feel so alone in the world, that that's a beautiful thing, you know? So I really do applaud you for having the courage to put something out there that is so real and so raw. And I understand what a leap that was for you, but I also love witnessing you doing this because I feel like you're really stepping into your power. And I just know that this is going to get cooking. And I personally just believe in you. I think you're so brilliant. I think you are not a mediocre poet. I think you're brilliant. And I love the way you sing because, you know, so rarely do you connect with a vocalist that really brings their emotions into what they're singing. And I can totally feel, all right, I totally feel the way, you know, you got that soul fire behind what you sing. Like you, I can feel your emotion in your voice. And so that's just, I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome. I'm really proud of you. And I'm so glad. I'm so glad you took the challenge and that you're going for it. And I just know, I know it's going to be really, really wonderful for you. I know it's going to expand a lot of things for you and open up a lot of possibilities for you. So, speaking of expanding possibilities, please, why don't you share with people where they can find you? So if they want some more of that good stuff you can bring to the table, can find you. I will let you all know that Wilder does have a YouTube channel. All right. It's called The Sharpest Teeth. And if you want to be able to find it, just go to the home page here on Broad Coven YouTube channel. Go down to the bottom under the channels I dig, okay? And you will find Wilder's link right there that you can just easily access. Go give them a subscribe, okay? It's not easy to get yourself seen on YouTube. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of effort. So every time you all, you know, go and subscribe, or you show up for an event like this, or you make a comment, do a like, you share it with somebody else, like it makes a huge difference. So show my broad some support, go over there and hit up that channel, but let them know what else you do and where they can find you. Okay. And yes, please bring your tarot in, how they can find you for tarot, all that. Okay.
Okay, first I want to say thank you so much. That's mostly it. Thank you so fucking much. I love you.
I love
I
you
love you so
too.
much. And I really appreciate you and everything that you do and for pushing me and challenging me in a way that is inviting and not putting me on the spot. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, everything is under the Sharpest Teeth. I'm on Instagram at the Sharpest Teeth. You can email me at thesharpestteeth@gmail.com to book readings. You can also message me on Instagram. I will find it. I have a Facebook page, The Sharpest Teeth. You can message me on Facebook, but sometimes those messages get filtered through and I don't always get them. So Instagram and email are the best ways to get a hold of me to book a reading. I had a website. It's showing error 404. I don't know what that's about. Maybe I'll figure it out at some point. I had someone explain some things to me about domains and how they work. I understood some of it. Anyway, so the website's not up right now, but if it were, it would be thesharpesttteeth.com, obviously. And I have a Twitter account that I don't use. I think it's just Sharpest Teeth. But those are mainly the places that you can find me online. I have a YouTube also, The Sharpest Teeth, and my podcast is where I do a lot of my readings right now. And that is also under The Sharpest Teeth, and it's on like every streaming platform that Anchor lets me have it on. And soon, Shannon and I talked about this. I plan on recording a video and the podcast at the same time because I have internet now. And I used to live in the woods, but then I found some stairs and I climbed on out of the woods and now I have internet. It's crazy. And like electricity. Wow. So I'm looking forward to this year and all of the things that I'm challenging myself to do and like supporting people and collaborating and having these in-depth conversations and getting vulnerable is my favorite. It's my favorite. I love it so much. And I really
That reminds me, speaking of that, I want to bring this in before we forget. You do a thing annually, Sad Trash.
I do. I
Will you
did.
let, are you still going to be doing that or no?
I don't know. So my idea. So this year I haven't done it. Usually I do it in the winter time. Um but I kind of wanted to do Sad Trash as an album release party for this
I
album.
love that.
And I
Why don't
don't
you let people know what is the concept of Sad
the
Trash? Let them know
concept
what
of
that's
Sad
about.
Trash. Okay, okay, that's fun. So I just wrote this on a resume, which is really funny. The concept of Sad Trash is having a community space to get emotionally vulnerable and like raw and real and like share from an authentic level in the form of art and like workshops. And last year I did it online and I did like interviews. Um, and that was fun. And it's really just an opportunity to create a community space of like safety and loving intention and community. And then I mean, I know that a lot of people have met up through Sad Trash and like connected through that. And I think that's really cool. But my favorite thing about it is that it's just like, it's this thing. It's really, really raw. And then it's gone. And we don't talk about it. Like, the
I
first rule
love
about Sad
that.
Trash is we don't talk about Sad Trash, which is not true. I talk about
Kind of
it.
like Fight Club, only the opposite.
It's the opposite. Yeah, it's vulnerability. We're embracing the cringe there. We're not fighting it. we're we're not covering it up with our tiny trucks. It's fine. We're not afraid of the booty hole. That's not trash. Okay.
I love the idea of pairing it with an album release. I think that's so great. I think that's so great. So that's awesome. Yeah. I'll be looking forward to seeing that when that comes around.
I
So
will be letting
let
people know.
us know about it, Broad, all right? Because I'm sure there's people here that would like to take part in that too, okay?
Yeah, I would love
All
that.
right.
It's gonna be a whole different thing. So we'll see. It might get deferred until the winter time, like in the end of
Yeah,
this year, but
yeah.
we'll see.
It will happen
It will
when it's
happen.
meant to happen. You'll know the perfect timing. Something tells me you'll flow with it sooner than you think. All right. Well, thank you so much, and I want you to stay with me for a minute, okay? I want to check in with you backstage, okay? But I just want to say thank you to everybody who showed up tonight and gave Wilder support for bringing forward their music and for showing up here, helping to hold the space and dropping in with all of us. And so appreciate you and look forward to seeing you again in the future for another broadcast. Okay, this is a new series I'm doing here. So I am totally open to having all kinds of people on here. If you're creative, you got something to share. If you're a reader and you have something you want to bring in and really kind of like break the mold and head off on some wild tangents with me, or you got some kind of project you're working on that you think people need to know about, like please reach out to me. I love to co-create. I'm also not one of those tarot readers on YouTube who's into the tarot wars, who's like into all this competition. I think there's amazing readers on YouTube. Like I tune in for you all the time. I love what you're bringing to the table. I'm open to working with you too. Okay. I think it's open playing field for everyone. Everyone has something really valuable to offer. So please, if you're a reader and you want to come on, you want to enter this creative space with me and have some fun, please do. Reach out to me at my email, broadcoven@gmail.com. It is the only way to get in touch with me, all right, for anything, including if you want to get a reading with me, all right? So Ted gave his endorsement there. So thank you so much for dropping in for the debut of this. Thank you so much, Wilder, for being on. I appreciate you, Broad. I love you too. Thank you so much for bringing your heart front and center and sharing it with everybody here so they could grow to love you as much as I do. And we'll catch you all on the flip side. Bye.
Bye.